National Newsnet. News the networks won't tell you.
Welcome to the I.N.N. World Report for April 22nd, 2010. This is Lenny Charles. Here are some of today's top stories. The Obama administration's top diplomat for the Middle East, Jeffrey Feltman, says the U.S. has warned Syria transferring ballistic missiles to Lebanon's Hezbollah would be an incendiary provocative action that could lead to war. An Israeli minister who would not identify himself told the UK Sunday Times, if Hezbollah dares to launch ballistic missiles against us, we will return Syria back to the Stone Age. Iranian Defense Minister Ahmad Vahidi has rejected reports Iran is planning to build ballistic missiles capable of striking the U.S. within 5 years. Vahidi added such comments were part of Washington's psychological warfare campaign against Iran. Vahidi was responding to a Pentagon report claiming that with foreign assistance, Iran could develop missiles capable of striking the U.S. South Korea Wednesday ruled out deploying U.S. atomic weapons on its territory in response to North Korea's nuclear arsenal. U.S. tactical nuclear weapons were pulled out of South Korea in the early 1990s. Foreign Minister Yu Meng-wan said the next nuclear summit in 2012 will serve as the last warning to North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons. The Pakistani military is holding thousands of suspected militants in indefinite detention, arguing that the nation's civilian justice system cannot be trusted to prevent them from walking free. According to U.S. and Pakistani officials, most detainees have been held for nearly a year and have been allowed no contact with family members, lawyers, or humanitarian groups. Scientists at the European Trans-Uranium Institute in Germany, tasked with tracking the movements of all fissionable material from the former Soviet Union's nuclear arsenal, suspect the Israeli spy agency, the Mossad, has purchased some of the material to stop it from falling into the hands of terrorist groups. However, according to the news website Rense.com, Israel may have gone to the nuclear black market to bolster its own nuclear arsenal. Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard began 3 days of large-scale war games in the Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz Thursday. The Pentagon said Wednesday U.S. military action against Iran remained an option. Iran has said it would respond to any attack by targeting U.S. interests in the region and Israel, as well as closing the Strait of Hormuz. About 40% of the world's oil passes through the Gulf. South Korea's military believes a torpedo fired from a North Korean submarine sank its Navy ship last month based on intelligence gathered jointly with the U.S. The Yonhap News report appears to be the clearest sign yet that Seoul blames Pyongyang for what one of the deadliest incidents between the rivals since the end of the Korean War. However, analysts do not see it triggering a wider war. High fructose corn syrup, which is linked to obesity, may also be harmful to the liver. According to Duke University Medical Center, increased consumption of high fructose corn syrup is associated with scarring in the liver among patients with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. U.S. President Barack Obama reassured Jewish leaders Thursday his administration's commitment to Israel remains unshakable. In a letter to the Conference of Presidents of major American Jewish organizations, Obama wrote, "Many of the same forces that threaten Israel also threaten the United States," adding, "Our alliance with Israel serves our national security interests." The Senate Agriculture Committee Thursday approved tough new curves on derivatives, the financial tools that triggered the 2008 financial crisis. The vote sent a strong signal that a broader financial regulatory overhaul was within reach. Republican Senator Charles Grassley joined committee Democrats in approving the new derivative limits. For the first time this year, a Republican senator has sided with the opposition on financial legislation. The whistleblower website WikiLeaks is promising to release a video of the controversial bombing last May of a compound that UN officials say killed more than 90 civilians. Earlier this month, Defense Secretary Robert Gates conceded that civilian casualties pose a public relations challenge for the U.S. In a February essay, General Stanley McChrystal wrote, "Without firing a weapon, the enemy can set back our efforts significantly." According to the UN, 2,412 Afghan civilians were killed in fighting last year. Improvised explosive devices and suicide attacks were the largest cause of death, with 1,054 civilians killed, and Taliban-led attacks accounting for more than 2/3 of the total. Even though Taliban fighters in Afghanistan killed nearly 3 times more civilians than NATO forces last year, It is the International Security Assistance Force that's scrambling to prove it's doing everything possible not to kill innocent bystanders. In England, Nick Clegg, the Liberal Democrats party leader dominating the British election campaign, said Thursday Britain should no longer be joined at the hip with our American friends. Clegg argued Britain's involvement in the Iraq invasion was a war about doing America's bidding. Clegg also said Israel had used disproportionate force in Gaza and kept Palestinians in poverty, and that Europe should use its economic muscle, including arms embargoes, to change the Israeli government's policies. The Liberal leader said, quote, "We can't leave it to the U.S. to exert influence in the Middle East." Clegg's tough comments on foreign policy are receiving unprecedented attention because of his strong performance in last week's first ever televised leadership debate. The Liberal Democrats have soared to the top of the opinion polls, and even though the polls suggest Labor could still win on May 6th, Clegg's party is expected to hold the balance of power. The Catholic Church's pedophile pre-scandal has spread to Latin America, one of the most Catholic areas of the world. Reports of priests raping or abusing minors have now emerged in Brazil, Bolivia, Uruguay, Mexico, and Chile. In Brazil, an 83-year-old priest has been arrested after he was secretly filmed in bed with a 19-year-old altar boy. The footage was broadcast on national television, which led to the arrest of Monsignor Luis Barbosa and 2 other priests. The Catholic Church in Chile confirmed there have been 20 cases of child abuse by priests. In Uruguay, Juan Jose Santana, a priest, has been on the run from the Bolivian authorities since 2008, charged with raping 3 children. He returned to Uruguay, where he was openly living. Barack Obama called on Wall Street and industry lobbyists Thursday to join us instead of fighting us as Congress prepares to create new regulations to rein in the financial industry. Obama said he believed in free markets, but that, quote, "A free market was never meant to be a free license to take whatever you can, however you can get it." The president pointed out, quote, "Some on Wall Street forget that behind every dollar traded or leveraged, there is a family looking to buy a house, pay for an education, or open a business, or save for retirement. What happens here has real consequences across the country." Obama went on to say, "I want to urge you to join us instead of fighting us in this effort," adding, "I am here because I believe that these reforms are in the end not only in the best interest of our country, but in the best interest of our financial sector." The House of Representatives, in a stunning reversal, will not consider whether to give the District of Columbia full voting rights in Congress. The House had been expected to begin a historic debate on whether Washington would get a voting member of Congress. Currently, the city is represented by Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, who can vote in committees but not on the floor. Liberals objected to a deal that would have attached a provision rolling back the city's tough curbs on gun ownership. Others were wary of a deal that would have also created another House seat for Utah, one of the country's most Republican states. Washington has a population of 600,000 that is nearly 55% African American and is heavily Democratic. Washington residents have long complained of unequal treatment by Congress, which has power over district affairs even though it is governed by a mayor and city council. This is Lenny Charles for the I.N.N. World Report. We'll be back again tomorrow.
News the networks won't tell.